Hey guys, a few people wanted to watch a similar type of video where I basically chat about Path of Exile. I thought I'd make another one. Today I just wanted to talk about something very simple. In the background I'm just going to start crafting some boots, see if we get anything lucky, and just do some random stuff on PoE. So the last time we spoke it was about, what was it about? I think it was about something to do with Path of Exile. I've completely forgotten. And anyway, the point was, I woke up this morning now, and I wanted to discuss the endgame of Path of Exile, because a lot of people have been talking about it. And everyone seems to be saying the same thing, that... Oh, I should have regaled that. That, for the most part, Path of Exile is very repetitive at endgame, and people quit. So then people were wading in, and they were saying, well, actually... is that good? Probably not. Yeah, people were wading in and saying, actually, it's okay, the end game, but it gets a bit repetitive. Basically, people were saying they take a character from 1 to 90, they do a few bosses, they see how the build functions, they see if they like the build, and then they sort of think, okay, I've tried Explosive Arrow, I didn't really enjoy it that much, but it kind of worked, and I'm probably not going to play it that much longer. Maybe it's not got the correct clear speed or the tankiness, or maybe they just don't enjoy the mechanics of the actual build and it's not that fun for them, and they end up re-rolling. Then they level 1 to 90 again and they try out a build. Now for me, I really enjoy the process of taking a character, say from the level 60s through to like 95 and really min-maxing it, seeing how it can do every boss. I really don't enjoy the level 1 to 60 odd of actual leveling. Now maybe that again improves with the new leveling system that's coming out in 3.0, but to be honest, I think for the most part it's going to be very similar. It's not the actual leveling, like the way the map's laid out or anything that's boring. For me, it's the fact that your character is weak early on when you level. Your character is always going to be weak regardless of if they make a 400 individual acts. Your character is going to be weak early on, so clear speed's going to be slow, the gameplay is going to be slow, things aren't going to die very fast, and you're going to die very quickly. And as a result, that is just not fun for me. It becomes a slog. I'm not the best at leveling at all. Leveling takes me longer than average. And yeah, as a result, I don't really blitz through leveling. Sometimes leveling's been okay when I've had Twitch chat by the side to read and I've been leveling up and people have been watching, and that's obviously made it way more enjoyable, and that's obviously how streamers can grind through it, you know. But for the average Joe, they're not going to have that, and it's going to be a boring experience, as I've read on forums and stuff, that people just don't like it. And that's the same for me, and I think the reason they don't like it is that it's, like I say, you're weak, but there isn't any like random events that think, oh well, if I level this could happen. Say for example in Diablo, I don't like the game, but in Diablo there's treasure goblins. You might be leveling and you might head out of your way and you might find a treasure goblin that gives you a load of good stuff, or you know, a random event can happen that makes a monotonous or boring leveling a little bit more enjoyable. You might get, you know, kind of lucky and get a good drop or something. You might not, but it's there. So when you level a new character, you think, well, leveling is boring, but that fun event could happen. In PoE, there really isn't anything like that. There is... well, what is there? There's ghosts. Ghosts really don't drop anything. I guess you could say strong boxes were there, maybe diviners boxes, but the problem is that GGG, for me, they really nerf things for the average player. For me, when I was leveling up and I was seeing diviners boxes and I might get an Exile card, or I might get, you know, an Exalt card in one whole, I'm talking like level 1 to 60 throughout leveling, that was enough for me, and I thought, well, leveling sucked, but I actually picked up a couple of cards along the way, and as a result it made my leveling less painful, I got a little bit of cash, and it makes my next character a bit easier. But when they do things like that, pretty much there's always like a bot or something farming that specific thing that's designed to be fun. So what ends up happening is, because grinding gear games somehow can't deal with bots, they just end up nerfing everything. They're like, well, they can't farm it anymore. Why? Did you get rid of the bots? Did you fix something that recognized a bug or a huge amounts of currency influx? No. What they do is they just nerf it. So whilst I'm leveling, now you basically see nothing, really. You see absolutely nothing. It's not even that bad of a belt, actually. And as a result, yeah, it gets boring and tedious, and you're just thinking, oh, come on, just get me to maps, get me to endgame, because this leveling is awful. And it's because grinding gear games end up nerfing everything that's remotely fun, in my opinion. That's what happens. For example, when we used to play in a party, you would see a diviner's box, and what would happen would it would be like, say there was 3 people in the party, you were playing with 3 people. There would basically be 3 times the loot. And because we're in a party and we played on permanent allocation, it would randomly distribute that 3 times loot to the 3 people. So we basically got our own box, effectively. 3 times loot, you know, then it was permanent allocation, so 3 times less loot, so we basically got our own box. And we played like that. And leveling actually was quite fun, because if you bumped into something, there was a reason to be in a party, and to play with friends, and to go out of your way, you know, not just go kill blue pack, get XP, run through zone, blue pack, XP, kill boss, port, log out, get in, you know, do it as fast as humanly possible. There was a reason to go off the beaten track and go out of your way to actually, you know, have a bit of fun. Whereas now, because bots or whoever have farmed that, for those that don't know, a couple of examples recently, here's a few things that happened. Diviner's boxes, again, like I say, was split between party allocation. So what they would do is they would find a Diviner's box, invite in 5 separate accounts, open it with 5 or 6 people or however many you can have, and then all those accounts would collect the loot and give it to each other. So it wasn't permanent allocation with, you know, 1 person getting a box each. He was getting 6 lots of loot, and as a result was getting extremely rich. And what they should be doing, GGG, is figuring out a system where somebody that's getting mass amounts of currency through this box farming, if you can see somebody doing this specific action, get a strong box, invite 5 people into the party, leave. Then he finds a strong box, invite 5 people to the party, leave. That guy should be banned, because he's clearly or he's not banned. He should be put on a list that says, you know what, just PM him. Don't be doing this. The drop rate is for regular people, not for 5 times botted accounts. But they don't. What they end up doing is they end up nerfing the ratios, and all of a sudden now, when there's 5 people in the party, you basically get 1 card each. And when you see a diviners, you're kind of like, well, I'm going to get absolutely nothing, so this isn't fun. GGG really need to work on a system, I think, to really take the game to the next level, because it is a great game. To take the game to the next level, they need to create a system where they can adequately catch these exploiters, and as a result of catching them, they can then keep the drop rates or the mechanic of the things, such as strong boxes, relatively fun and fair for the average player. As explained before, we used to play in parties, have good fun, find a box, go out of the beaten track, and now that doesn't happen. If we see a diviner's box, we don't think anything. We just think, well, this is going to suck. And that's not a good feeling, is it? For you to design a game mechanic, have players play together as friends, and then those people in the game feel like, oh, that sucks. You know, that's just not a good feeling. And that's something they need to work on. Another example, if I can think of one, there was recently a guy that figured out something to do with summon skeletons and a beyond portal type of issue. Do you know, the portals that spawn more and more beyond bosses? So using summon skeletons and something like that was basically you could just keep reviving beyond bosses endlessly and they were dropping loot. This guy apparently has been doing this for years and years, and he only recently just got caught. And he was making apparently like 100, 200, 300, 400 exalts a day. I mean, if a game cannot catch a system like that, then what is their sort of catching method? I know people that RMT on the game, they've never been caught. I know people that abuse bugs, they don't get caught, clearly. And all that happens is the average Joe that does it once and thinks, hey, 5 of us found a Diviner's box, that was super fun, it gets nerfed. And then the people that abuse the bugs are still in the game because they haven't been banned, and then they'll find the next way to abuse it. And I just think it's a tedious system of nerfing fun mechanics, and as a result the leveling system becomes more and more boring because there's less and less things to go out of your way to find. And I focus on the leveling because for me leveling is the most important and boring part. If you can get somebody through leveling and to maps, they've pretty much made it as an account. You're going to stick with that account. You're not just going to forget about it. If you've played 90 levels, you're going to stick with it. That means in turn they're going to get MTX purchases and all this stuff. So for me, they really need to make the leveling more fun. And they need to do it through actually not nerfing game mechanics, but banning the people that abuse them. Because again, it just hinders it for regular people. And yeah, I don't think I need to speak for that much longer. I just wanted to do a small little talk. Because I just find that the game is really, really good. I really enjoy Path of Exile, but it just gets this little irritating sensation. That another example I can think of, the Saint Treasure card. The Saint's Treasure card was meant to be a divination card that was spawned in, I believe it was somewhere in Act 2 warehouses or somewhere like that. Just after you come out of the sewers. And it was a card for something like it was a 1 out of 2 card for like an Exile or something. It was something like that, and the card was basically worth 20 chaos, there or thereabouts. What happened was they introduced this card to make leveling more fun. They thought, you know what, people actually aren't really getting rewarded for going through this leveling process. We'll give them a bit of currency and a chance to find a card in a zone that everybody travels through, because everybody has to go through the marketplace at some point, right? So they did that, and I never thought anything of it. I travelled through the zone, and I got a card, and I was like, hey, nice, like, that's 20C, that might buy me a unique or a couple of rares to speed up my leveling process, and that's all I thought about it. But then the bots got involved, and the bots began to just relentlessly run that zone, and they farmed these Saint Treasure cards until I don't know if you remember, if you played the game, when that huge Exalt crash happened, where these cards were going for like 9C, and they were like worth, maybe they were like 1 out of 10. I think they were like 1 out of 10 Exalts. It was a 1 out of 10 card, and it was for 2 Exalts. And these were selling for like 8 chaos, there was that many. And everything was crashing, because these bots decided that, oh, this new mechanic that was in the game for people to have fun, we can actually abuse that. And like nobody's really going to give a shit, because GGG can't even catch a guy that's making 500 exalts a day. So how are they going to catch us going through a zone that everybody travels through and farming, you know, for this card? And again, as a result, that card got nerfed. I think the drop rate got nerfed, or it got changed its location, and really I don't see it very much anymore through the times I've passed through leveling. So when a new player comes in, they really won't get that experience of finding that card. And again, that's because of botters, and I guess, yeah, maybe it's not always bots, maybe it's just someone that's bored and is doing that farm in that zone. And it just ruins the game. And I think for me, divination cards, I'll just go slightly off topic before I end. Divination cards to me were meant to be a card where you could target farm an area instead of actually buying the item or playing maps for a random drop. It was actually meant to be target farmed. So what I mean by that is, say you needed a Taste of Hate, you could relentlessly run the area that drops the Taste of Hate card, and eventually, might take a while, but you would be able to get a Taste of Hate. through target farming. So instead of sitting in maps for 5 hours one night, you could sit in the area that drops the Taste of Hate card for 5 hours, and after 5 hours you might farm it. But what happens is, if that is actually achievable through an average player's game time, even if he's grinding, right? Let's say he plays 7 hours of relentlessly refreshing the area that can drop this card. That will get nerfed because bots will then come in and farm it. So there's really no way around this. And I think it's frustrating because I think some people would like to actually spend an evening target farming. It sounds boring, but honestly, you have to ask yourself the question, why would somebody target farm a Taste of Hate card for 7 hours, even if they could get it, when they could blast through maps and make enough currency in that session for 7 hours to just go out and buy one? And nowadays, it would take way more than 7 hours of target farming, because whenever somebody discovers, like, hey guys, by the way, you can farm this area really well for the card. It might take a while, but eventually you'll get your Voltaxic, or you'll get your Taste of Hate, or whatever. When that happens, bang, on they come the farmers or the bots that happen, and they go, alright, this takes an average guy 7 hours to collect a Taste of Hate. Let's get like 100 bots in that zone. And then boom, all of a sudden that man hour's completely cut down and they have 5 Taste of Hates in about 5 hours, and they're making bank and they're not really doing anything. So yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make, that all these little things that are meant to make the leveling process fun and enjoyable for the average player ends up getting nerfed, because this is from my perspective, maybe I'm completely wrong, but from my perspective of playing the game, grinding games have absolutely no idea how to deal with botters and, you know, people just relentlessly abusing or, yeah, running through a zone just to maximize absolute, you know, as much currency as possible. If you're making 500 exalts through abusing a Beyond Portal bug, that guy should be banned. It should be changed so you can check how much currency someone's generating. If somebody is making massive amounts of currency, do not just go, oh, divination card boxes are broken, let's nerf them. Actually deal with the people that are doing it, or make a system that limits something, you know. I feel like there's such a simple solution out there to just really help the average player, as explained, because that's what I'm about, the average player. I really don't think, you know, you really have time. Ooh, a flaring. That would have been nice. I should have just regaled it straight off. Yeah, the average person doesn't have time to farm anything these days. If I was to ask somebody how long would it take to farm a Taste of Hate card now, I don't even think it's possible. Because if it was possible, bots would abuse it. And that's where my annoyance comes in with the game, because it's close to perfection, and I hope it gets there, but I just wish they'd stop nerfing all the fun elements and actually deal with the real issue of stopping the people doing it in the first place. There should not be a thing where a 5-man party gets rubbish loot because a botter farmed the divination card boxes. That should not happen in your game. That should be, how do we stop someone abusing this shit so the people that are playing the game legitimately with friends... Fuck, I just rolled a fucking tyrannical. I've had a flare and a tyrannical already. God damn. Yeah, so that might even have been a merciless. It was 166, wasn't it? God damn. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know really what this video was about. I just wanted to get this off my chest. I don't know how many other people feel like this, but I'm really annoyed that they keep nerfing all the little fun things rather than dealing with the core issue. Anyway, if you like these videos and you want some more, let me know. If not, I'll stop rambling. Peace out.